to observe the hearing is able to do that through our YouTube live stream. Last thing I need to do is read our hearing script, which basically just covers the procedure of the hearing, and then we'll jump right into it. So this is the April 27th, 2022 session of the Zoning Hearing Examiner docket. My name is David Sturkey. I'm the Zoning Hearing Examiner for the City of Cincinnati, and I'll preside over this hearing. The case before us today is case number ZH20220040. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and opposing parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and the supplemental rules of the Zoning Hearing Examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any opposing party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing, unless a party has submitted evidence or testimony in the form of writing prior to this hearing. This hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant, the applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent will first present the applicant's case. I will then give anyone from the public, in this case, that's Ms. Gonzalez, an opportunity to speak after the applicant has presented its case. I'll allow the zoning plans examiner, Walt Mueller, to provide any testimony in addition to a staff report that he would like to offer. And then I will go back to the applicant / owner to allow them to respond to any of the comments from the public or from the zoning plans examiner, and then make any final statements or any closing remarks. In this case, Ms. Arnold and Mr. Freitag, however you want to orient the presentation, one or both of you can speak if you would like. I'm pretty open about how you want to do that. When I do go to Ms. Gonzalez, I typically just, we'll see how the hearing progresses. I typically give the public just sort of one bite at the apple to provide any comments or concerns or questions, things like that. So keep that in mind. And yeah, that's it. After all presentations have been made, I will close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions. I may also refuse to consider hearsay testimony. That's generally evidence you want to introduce that consists of statements made by someone who's not present at this hearing. That is discretionary. I will sometimes let that in. Yeah, in the event of any technical difficulties or unforeseen circumstances with the video conferencing technology, I'll do my best to troubleshoot any of those issues on the fly, but to the extent there's some defect with the Zoom that prevents us from meaningfully going forward with this hearing, I may continue or postpone this hearing at my discretion. Okay, one preliminary question, Ms. Arnold and Mr. Freitag, did you get the correspondence? We received some correspondence from Ms. Gonzalez last night that I added this morning to the project docs public correspondence folder. Did you have a chance to see that?
Yes, I did.
Okay, fantastic. I think that'll just give us a nice head start to some of this conversation. So, okay. Last thing I need to do is just swear in all of our witnesses. So if you intend on providing any testimony here today, making any comments, asking any questions, doing anything other than just strictly observing, then you need to be sworn in under the zoning code. So if that is you, if you could take yourself off mute, I need everyone to answer out loud and to raise their right hand. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
I do.
I do.
Okay, great. Thanks, everyone. All right, so Ms. Arnold, the floor is yours.
Yes.
Or Mr. Freitag, again, however you want to orient it. I'll let you two tell me about the project and why it should be approved.
Basically looking to take an existing retaining wall that's already in the backyard of the property that I own and move that to make it flush with the neighbor's property. They have a retaining wall there as well. Why the builder, I've been in the home 3 years, why the builder put the retaining wall close to the patio of my property rather than putting it at the very end of my property, I'm not sure, but it will allow me to have about 720 usable green space to make the property more desirable. So it doesn't adversely affect any of the neighbors. It will, I think, increase the property values, increase my property values. It will be a much safer, nicer area than what's there now. There is a 8-foot perpetual right-of-way that is at the back of the property that allows use to the adjacent neighbor's property, so that will not be affected. They'll still be that will still be usable as well. So it just allows for a a better, nicer backyard for myself for the property.
Okay.
Hired a civil engineer. They have done all the proper precautions. They did a geotechnical assessment and did a test pit to determine what type of ground was there and to make sure that everything was followed properly. Hired a contractor. The plans have been in the works for, about a year or so. We started it last year and have really thought it out. I had to kind of put the project on hold just to some other things that were going on in my life. And I've rebrought it to the surface again. We've had the plans revised twice now with the city. This is the second revision. Really, the retaining wall will be the same exact size that it is just about right now that it is. It's just going to be pushed back to the very back of the property.
So just so I properly oriented here, the retaining wall runs sort of north-south, is that right?
Does it run north-south? Runs,
I believe so.
yeah, runs across the middle of the property. If you're looking at the pictures that I showed, the parcel of
Which
the
pictures are you referring to?
um
The ones you sent with the application?
correct, yes, there's 3 of them that I included. If you're looking, you can see there's a view that's like from the top looking down. I didn't actually label them when they were included in label them 1, 2, and 3, but you get a view from the very top of the property. I labeled that with it says view from the top of my property. It's currently wasted space. So you can see that is just, a plot of my property that's not being used. And so the previous neighbors would sometimes, the people that own the property prior to myself moving in would sometimes use that as a parking space. However, I have a 2-car garage and a very large driveway, which doesn't require me to use that for parking. So, because I do have access to the back of the property, a door there. So, you can park back there, but I'm not finding that to be very useful. So if I move the retaining wall back, that would and excavate the dirt that's there, that will actually allow the ground to be flat and have an actual yard, which would be great for property values in the future. So if I were to sell the house, it would be more friendly for people that had children, people that have dogs, etc., because there would actually be a usable lawn, whereas it's just a dug up gravel space. It's not very friendly, not very aesthetically pleasing.
Gotcha. Okay. I think I get it. I don't know what it is about site plans and the photos here that just it's tough for me to get a sense. Well, did you want to try and shed some additional light on that?
Yeah, I can share an overhead that kind of gives you an idea
Sure.
so you can get oriented. Can you see it?
We can.
Okay, and here's a 8-foot easement I was unaware of, but I just drew this in so we can get a concept of there's no intrusion in this area. Is that correct?
Correct.
So, and this is the existing retaining wall that's going to be moved out here,
That's correct.
right there.
Mhm.
But this 8-foot would remain as is.
That's correct.
Okay.
Gotcha. And so is the space there between the end of that easement and the current retaining wall, is that all the same level?
Somewhat. It slopes down a little bit, yes.
Gotcha. So do you have to sort of go up some stairs then to get to that
Yes.
back portion?
Yes, you can see the stairs that are right there. That's shared between myself and 1041.
Mm-hmm.
So we
Gotcha.
share the property.
Top of the existing wall is roughly 7 to 8 feet. It's about 7.5. Current existing wall.
Okay. Gotcha.
Be 11 feet off of the property line with a new wall, so that we allow for setback as it steps up.
Got it. Okay. And so I know that mentioned that you did see the correspondence from Ms. Gonzalez, and it might make sense to sort of break rules here and allow like some sort of discussion to happen. But how exactly is this interlocking with an existing retaining wall on her property? Was that your contention, Ms. Gonzalez?
Right. So if you look at the way that the blocks are woven together, it's woven together as one kind of wall. So I wanted to know whether or not it would be, at least as to the blocks being interwoven. So if you kind of have this, one block stacked on top of the other,
Correct.
if you just cut through the middle, like if you just completely cut at the property line, it would slice a bunch of the blocks in half. So I was just wondering what it meant to be flush, if that was the case, or if the blocks would be taken out, still in their interwoven state, and then pushed back together. And
Yes. So your answer is that it needs the interlock, it needs to be interwoven in order for stability of wall. We wouldn't cut the wall at your property line. It would make the wall unstable. We'll have to also, as we take apart the wall, we'll take it down, in sections, like as it steps down now, so that we can come down to your property and still be, free of getting on your property or interfering with your wall. We'll have to, as we build, it has to be compacted lifts. And so we'll see where the geogrid is on your wall also. It'll show us the integrity of the wall that was built there now. But we'll also do the lifts with the geogrid in order for the wall to be, sustainable.
so then the wall, when you say interlocking, so it'll go back and it will now
The
be,
exact way it is.
okay, great. Can we then change the language instead of flush to be back to interwoven?
The flush statement was just in my applicant statement, and that was my layman's terms. It was never in the actual civil engineering plans or the contractor plans. That was just in my applicant statement that I wrote to the hearing examiner. And what I meant by the use of the word flush was that it wouldn't be taller or go back farther or exceed out farther than yours. So it just meaning that mine jets to my patio and it's going to come back and meet yours at the same distance. So the word flush was used in that layman's terms, not meant to be taken technically.
Great. I think the engineer we had just recommended that any future, I guess, applications just include interwoven as to the interlocking, but I would understand that flush as to the actual projected distance is probably proper, right?
And let me say this, if you two are in agreement that it's actually interlocking, and I think
It
that
will be.
the
It
plans,
will be interwoven.
okay, the plans will control here, Ms. Gonzalez, on how the wall is actually constructed, but I'm happy to add in language into the decision that makes it clear that this is interlocking and not flush from a technical perspective. If there's agreement on both sides on that.
Agreement, yes.
Agree.
And Lauren, why don't you just feel free to sort of fire away and discuss some of your other concerns in your correspondence, and I'll give the contractor, Ms. Arnold, an opportunity to directly respond.
Great. No, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. I'm excited for Stephanie. I know you've been wanting this for a long time, so I'm so glad you're getting this off the ground. Okay, so that was the first one. We figured that one out. Item number 2 was that area, which I believe Walter had set up before, and that right of way there. So I know that you spoke about the wall being about, how tall was it again?
Less than 10 feet for the wall, but you've got to consider that there's going to be 18 inches or 24 inches of that in the ground. So the reason we need this variance is because it makes the wall taller than 8 feet in a hillside district or landslide district. And so the wall is going to be pretty much the same height that it is. And we're going to drop from the back. It'll be sloped down. It'll be closer, so it may be sloped a little harder up, but you should still have access to all that back. It's not going to change the grade that much from what it is.
Well, so that area right now that Walter boxed out, that is pretty sloped. So the way that machinery comes right now is actually around. So if you come down there and you kind of go towards the right-hand side of that purple line,
Mm-hmm.
to the right, a little bit to the right, sorry, I think, am I saying to the left?
No, to the right, closer to the house.
Right, closer to the house, right, so a
On the
little
other side of the
closer. On the other side of the right hand, or the purple line, there we go. So that's the more level area, and then it slopes upward. So machinery, you can't really go through that area that is still there. I mean, technically, if you're climbing around it, you can, but I wanted to know whether or not that is also planned to be level, now that the other space where the pointer is will no longer exist because the retaining wall will be moved back.
It will slope pretty much like it is. So on the plan, it shows where we're stepping up. On gosh, what plan is this? I don't know. One of the engineer's plans, the end of it cut off, but it will step up. We're not going completely flush all the way to your house and then dropping down. It'll gradually step.
Well, I don't think that's what I mean though. So right now retaining wall, I don't know if you can see this very well, but it does this, right? So you can access, the area above the retaining wall.
Mm-hmm.
So you can access through the flat area. Now, once the retaining wall is built, this area goes away, and you're only left with a sloped portion. So the sloped portion, even though, it's technically land and it hasn't been changed, that's not usable as an access way.
That's correct. But it should be similar to what you have now. I mean, we can try to slope it a little bit.
What I have now is that flat area. See the flat area here?
Mm-hmm.
And then this part sloped. The flat area is going to go away.
Mm-hmm.
The sloped area staying.
The
So right now,
area in behind your house?
no. So is it behind? Let me see a photo. Let me see if I can bring it up.
I'm confused.
So I think you can see it in image. 1 second. Let's see. I took image 3, which was one of your images. And I think this is a proper image. So if you want to pull up image number 3 from my email or if we just pull up the images that Ms. Arnold provided.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have that, Walter? You want me to pull it up? I've got it.
Your opinion is this?
Mm-hmm.
Or
And then
this?
let's see how this is flat. And then
I was looking up the engineer drawings.
Here, I'll see if I can.
Yep.
Do something quickly here.
I guess just a question, if you don't mind, David, we're talking about this area here that is in between the blue line or the purple line we had before in the house. Is that the area that you're talking about using for access as right now?
Right. So I wanted to
Okay.
know of that. Do you see that kind of gate back there?
Right.
Okay, so I wanted to know up until which point, it would be helpful if we did on this picture, up until which point the wall would go back to, because I want to just make sure that back there, there's enough level space for actual machinery, equipment, like and anytime we need to get anything through there, that we could actually use it, because the ground towards the house, towards the 1045 Crocus, so Ms. Arnold's house, is flatter. And as you go up, it curves upward up the hillside.
It will stay as is, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be very similar to the grade that you have right now. So when we start the wall, for instance, on your side at roughly, let's call it your property line, but right there at the property line, that wall is going to be the same height that you have right now.
Well, right, but we're pushing, what I'm saying is that okay, as you walk towards my gate, yes, the wall goes backwards, right? Because it's a serpentine S and mine is, I guess, a little bit straighter. All of that flat area in which, so see how the greenery on the floor kind of curves and you see where it's undisturbed on the left-hand side?
Mhm.
That's because you can't run anything through there because it's sloped. So if all of the dirt area is now being excavated and, you know, the wall is being moved back, that space is air. You can't move machinery over air like that. So what I'm saying is, how am I supposed to move through all of that sloped area? Like
Well,
the
the
access ways affected.
the property, I mean, the survey of the land only allows for eight feet. So that's, I mean, we're leaving 11. So you'll still, I mean,
8
and
feet of
you'll
what?
still have the side of your house that butts up against mine that will allow you to get to your backyard that way as well. I mean,
I'm sorry,
that-
8 feet of what is what I'm asking, like 8 feet of
8
this
feet is
area?
exactly, I mean, pretty much how it is. It's not going to, I mean, it's not in the plans for us to
Right, we have to leave
re-slope
the
it
8
for,
feet.
yeah. It will pretty much remain how it is. So if you're able to take machinery back there now, or whatever your intent is, I mean, I think the previous owners, I mean, as far as like taking machinery back there, I mean, I think the purpose of that 8 feet is, you know, for a work person to access it, for people to access it. I mean, other than that, not sure
So-
what your intent is for.
So my question is, right? So I know you keep saying that it's going to stay as is. Staying as is would mean it looks exactly the way that it is in this picture, and that's not the case.
That's
So-
obviously that's not true.
Right, exactly. So we need to specify what is staying as is. I want to know where on that picture the wall goes back to. And I want to know if then at that point, if the usable space that's left there, if it's sloped, what is it? Because if it's, well, let's go ahead with question 1. Can you show me on that picture where the wall will come to and what we're excavating and getting rid of?
And
Okay,
and hold on one sec. Whose house is this?
That is 1047.
So this is your house, Lauren.
No, actually, is that
Yes,
my
it
house? Okay.
Yes.
So where's so do you have a retaining wall here, Lauren?
Yeah, that's the
Yes.
curvature of the retaining wall.
Gotcha.
And where
So
the blue posted is my property.
Hey,
is that your
David.
property line?
My
David?
property line is basically where that yellow post-it is. Actually, the property line, like 1047 is using part of my backyard currently as is.
Right, just as 1045 is using part of our backyard. But so that property line over there in the yellow, so could somebody show us on this photo what is going to be removed so the wall could be moved back?
Walt, do you have a better image here?
Yeah, I can actually show the site plan that they submitted, and it shows where the 8 foot is supposed to be, that they're allowed to maintain, or they're required to maintain. So it is at the back of the property line. And what they're doing is putting their retaining wall here. So the only thing they're required by law to do is maintain this 8 foot open space and not encroach on it.
So
Okay.
where's that gate? Where's the gate that was in that
On the
photo?
right back corner.
The gate is way
I
far over, like all the way over, almost where it's the RW is where the gate is. Like
No,
way-
that's not, it looks like it's close. Well, it looks like it's where it says bottom 648. So do you see where bottom 648 is?
Right here,
So yeah, I would say between there and the arrow.
okay? So the only thing they're required to maintain is this area here.
So that area is sloped right now, right? So
And-
the area that's closer. So that's why I'm just saying it's very difficult to actually be able to move anything back there because of the slope.
But they're not required to maintain a flat area for you on their property up here. They're required to maintain this existing.
So are they not
8 foot.
required when it comes to an easement by
The-
necessity?
The easement is right there.
So even though it's a sloped easement that cannot be used, so easements, I mean, easements are usable rights of access. So it's not usable if it's sloped, is what I'm saying. So the portion that is usable is the flat area. So now we're taking away the flat area, so we no longer have a usable right of access.
But is the current flat area on Ms. Arnold's property?
Yes, so that's part of it, right? So that was the easement to 1047, because that's how, I mean, like our movers came through there and landscapers have come through there. And like, if we have to get rid of like a, big item, they come through there.
This area right here on that one drawing I was shown before was actually a parking pad where they park cars at. So it must have been fairly quick, flat. It showed right here on the property line. Yeah.
Right, so it's flat further to the left, but then so I think it's towards that like 649.
Going this way. Yeah.
Probably know that better than I do. But if you look at the 649.9, the 649 point, I don't know, 3, that's where it goes into that grass dirt area that you saw in the other photo.
Gotcha. So let me ask a couple clarifying questions really quickly. So the easement right of way behind is entirely behind the retaining wall. Is that correct, Ms. Arnold?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. Will you be changing the slope or anything with the right of way or easement that will restrict access to 1047 in any way?
No, not any more than it currently is.
Nope.
Okay. And Lauren, are you saying that the flat area is not actually the easement right of way, but it's a different portion that's being changed?
Well, no, that I just wanted clarity. I'm not saying that. I mean, I don't know, right, from the plans. Like I don't
Gotcha.
know this kind of stuff. What I want to know with clarity is that whether or not, so looking at this plan here, is that area, so if we look up towards, I guess where the 648.3 is and backwards, so that area there, is it all sloped or is it not sloped, or is the area that the wall is being pushed back to, is that the flat area? I don't know.
So where we go into your wall, where we interweave the stone in, it's going to remain where it's at now, like on your side. And then we'll run the wall out, we'll step it up, and it goes up 8 inches because the block is 8 inches thick as we step up. So it still should give you a gradual slope down through there. I mean, we can grade it as best we can, but without adding, wall on your side. I mean, it should be, if you're able to use that area now to get movers or whatever in, you're going to be able to use that area the same.
So, but okay. So going back where it says prop AB wall, is that area the flat area that is shown in the other picture? And is the 649 the area that's left the sloped area in that photo? So do you see in that other picture how it curves around, of course, because that area in the back is sloped? So that's what I'm trying to get at, right?
Right. So the area in front of the wall towards Stephanie's house is going to be level with her yard. It's going to slope up slightly.
Right. But right now, currently, is that area the level area, or is that, is there usable level area being left is what I'm asking. Is that area in the back right now? I know you say, okay, well, you can use it as you do now, but if you look at the other picture, you'll see that clearly there's a path, right? And it curves. So
right.
If you look back at the other one. So I want to make sure that.
So the highest height of our wall is at 649. It looks like you're at 648, the top of the wall where it currently is. And so you've got that drop. I just think it's going to be a very similar grade to what it is right now.
Sorry, I kind of took this over. So, okay.
So what I want to know, it slightly drops down to your yard right now, correct?
Over here, what I want to know is where is the cutoff? Is it here? Is it here? Where's the cutoff for the wall? Like once we move it into those plans. Is
The
it?
cutoff is at your property line where we put the wall.
No, not that cutoff. I'm talking about the cutoff. I guess it would be on Ms. Arnold's property for this right of way, right? Because here right now, somebody comes in, you curve around here because it's flat, you curve back here because it's flat. This area is sloped. You can't just go there. Now, if the plan then is to move it and make it, I don't know, like a straight, let's say this is a straight line here. Can you see my mouse moving?
Yeah.
Okay. Then I only have sloped area, right? I don't have the flat area anymore. You can't move things over the sloped area unless that's completely like cleared out and leveled. I just want to know where it is that we're moving this back.
Where,
We have 3 step ups from, this is per the engineering plan. We have 3 step ups from the top of your existing wall. That's 18 inches. Well, 8 times 3, 24 inches. I'm sorry. So you got a 2-foot drop. And I'm going to say, I didn't bring my 10, 20, 30. So about 30 feet from your property line to the top part of where we're going to build this wall is going to be sloped, and then it'll level off somewhat. It's still going to slope some, but it'll level off a little bit more all the way to the concrete, back in.
So is the wall going here where the red line is? Is it moving back there?
It's really hard to determine exactly where it's going to be based on this picture. I mean,
yeah, you can't really
I
see in
don't
that
have a-
picture, yeah, like what you're
Or
referring
just
to.
about, I guess.
So
I don't know.
basically where your wall is, Lauren,
Yes.
it's going to be, when I said flush, I meant that it would be, so if you look at where my patio is, the wall is going to move back so it meets where yours is. So it'll go that far back. Does that make
Okay.
sense? So that's what
Yes.
I meant by the word flush, like, so it'll go back to that far, but you'll still have, I mean, if you see where your gate is, imagine that amount of space all the way across still.
Right, so if you have this here, I'm just concerned because this is like the sloped area that you can't like you can't really bring anything over here, right? Like you
I
can
mean,
bring.
I walk over there, I mean, it's been the same since I moved in, and it's still, I mean, the previous owners of 1047 used that area, and it's not going to be any different. I mean, they use that to get their landscapers back and forth there as well.
Right,
and
because the
it's not going to change it to make it any different.
So if you have a landscaper, they come in like this, right? Hence why.
Well, they don't though, but that's my property. That's not the easement. They were walking on my property. That belongs to me. That area
An
belongs
easement-
to me.
I understand it belongs to you, Stephanie, but an easement is a right of way, right? It's where one grants to the other. I mean, and you have easement by necessity, and this is an easement by necessity, right? So yes, it's part of your property, but it's also property right that my property currently has.
Can I
So-
show something on the
Yeah.
drawing? I think it might answer the question.
How do I give you the?
I can do it.
I'm just asking just to understand it, right? That's what I care about.
Okay, so I'm going to show this drawing here. Here's the red line. This is where their new retaining wall is going to be. Okay. And here's what it looks like today. And this is one kind of gives you a review of back when the parking pad was here. So essentially, they're going to still maintain all that area right here where the old parking pad used to be. The retaining wall is going to be here. You can see it better on here because it ties right in with yours, comes straight across and up. So the area here that was used for access to your property that you're talking about is still going to be there. Does that make sense, the contractor?
Yes, no, that's exactly, you can still, even after we're finished, you can still park up there.
So that was the question I had, and it wasn't meant to upset anybody. It was more, I need to know what, I don't know how far back it goes. So this image is very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do when you were talking, and I was trying to take the pictures he was showing and the drawings we had and try to clarify what we're doing and how it's going to be tied in.
So,
Okay.
and I don't want to belabor this anymore, but well, or I guess it's for anyone. The portion there that is to the right of where the new retaining wall is gonna be, what by my eyes, the pink line there in the, yeah. Is that a parking pad right there that was?
This was here, over here. I
Okay.
can show it here on better. See the gravel area here?
Existing homeowners
Yeah.
had kind of used it
Yeah.
at, is they had even left me additional, they had looked into this plan as well. And because they had children, looked at how to make it a more usable space, but it was literally just a place to park an extra car. Because it really is a dead end. My house is the dead end of the street, the alley. My understanding is the alley is shared by, as you can see, if you go a little bit, you can see a car parked there up in front of it.
Right here.
Yes, exactly. So then, those, many people use the alley, and we share the alley. My understanding is that the alley actually ends at 1041, and my property is actually extends all the way back via the survey. So, that's why I would like to make it more usable and actually do something with that property, but we'll still have, the perpetual easement there.
Gotcha. Okay.
11, 10.
Yeah, this was a really helpful photo. So now that clarifies my.
Ultimately, there's going to be 9 feet 6 inches, 9 feet 7 inches from top of wall to that back area. So I mean, there's going to be a 9-foot section. We'll start 11 feet off, but we got an inch setback on each stone. So you go back 15 inches from that. That's top of wall, and then the wall step down as it goes to your house. So you'll remain. The access you have now is still going to remain the access you have.
Okay,
Gotcha. Okay, so just to put a fine point on it here, the retaining wall will not go into any portion of the access easement or that back access way, and it won't affect Ms. Gonzalez's ability to access her property from the rear as she has in the past.
That's
No.
correct.
Okay,
thank you.
all right. Ms. Gonzalez, was there another point, or did you cover both of them with that?
No, I think that was it for that. And then just making sure that, I don't know how these things go. I just want to make sure that that nothing that happens would negatively affect, I guess, our property nor our side of the wall. And then I think the engineer that I was working with, he just said he wanted to see dimensions on the plans, and those are my only concerns.
I can send him the dimensions. I'll show him my plan, like the plan that they showed you, the topography map, or the site map with the wall on it. I'll send that to Mr. Naylor today.
Thank you.
They're all clearly on there, and what we submitted, I'm not sure if you just didn't see it, but it does show all the geogrid dimensions and the height, and everything is listed that we submitted to the hearing examiner and to Walt.
I don't know. He mentioned something about it. So, I mean, if you're able to connect with him, that would be great. Just
So we use 3 different engineers in this area when we build walls, or we work with 3 different ones. I'm sure there's 1 or 2 other ones here or there, but Matt Naylor, Lee Nepple, and 1 other fellow. But we use Lee and Matt. We work with pretty close. We have their information. We can send it, and I'm pretty comfortable with, I mean, there's nothing to be hidden. The reason that we do engineering of these walls is so that you can feel comfortable that the wall's being built. It has to be inspected by these engineers, also the city, but that way you're getting a product and that something's going in that's not going to fall down.
yeah, I'm sure you all know what you're doing.
Mr. Freitag, just to be clear, there are not drawings or any schematics or anything that you're saying that you will send that are not included in this application package?
No, it's the same one. It's just that I'll make sure he has that site plan with the wall. I think I did that plan.
Okay, all right. So Ms. Gonzalez, just for the record, based on the discussions here today and the clarifications, do you have any opposition to this application if the conditions are met that we've discussed today?
Yep, as long as the conditions are met, I have no opposition.
Okay, all right. Walt, did you want to add anything else?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Ms. Arnold or Ms. Freitag, anything else in closing or otherwise?
I think that, I just want to say confidently, I think that we have went about this, and did everything that we possibly could to have, pure confidence. We've hired an excellent civil engineering firm that did great plans. They revised it. We've met with the city. I've been in close contact with Cassandra Maines about the appropriate things that we needed to do in order to make sure that we had all the documentation and for permitting. And I feel very confident in the contractor that I've hired. He has extensive experience with retaining walls twice this big with in the Hillside District with numerous home builders in the city of Cincinnati. And, I think that I'm in very good hands with that. And, just lastly, we live in very close proximity to one another in Mount Lookout. And the last thing that I would want to do would be to disrupt, my relationships with my neighbors. I did go to both neighbors on both sides and talk to them about this project prior to ever getting a contractor or an engineering firm on board. And I wanted to make sure that they knew what was going on before I, started out on that, because I don't want there to be any confrontation or anyone upset. I want everyone to be able to have a good, positive experience at their home and enjoy that. So it is important to me that everyone's involved and feels good about it. And, I'm not building an Eiffel Tower, some skyscraper in the back of my home. I'm trying to improve the property value and to make the property nicer. And hopefully that will reflect in everyone's property values. So, I want the best experience for, the homes in all of the neighborhoods. So I just want to say that we're dotting our T's and crossing our I's on everything that we're doing from a permitting standpoint as well.
Got it. Okay. And one last question, just to be clear, I do have one letter that was included in this packet from Danny Lipson.
Yes.
Is that the neighbor that's directly behind your house?
It is not. He's 2 houses down. He would just happen to want to write a letter in support of the project as well. He's in the real estate business and, obviously sees the value and what this can do for our community and for the alleyway and the area. So.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I think we'll leave it at that. So I've had a chance to review the application and the staff report. Based on that and the conversations and the testimony that I've heard today, I am going to approve the project, but it will be subject to the condition that it's interlocking and not flush. And that, of course, it doesn't disturb any of the access to Ms. Gonzalez's property or that right-of-way easement. So those will be conditions attached to the decision. I want to thank you all for your time and your testimony and the frankly civil discourse that I heard today. Is not always this pleasant sometimes with the neighbors. So I appreciate Ms. Gonzalez, you being here and your time and your testimony on this project. It really did give me a better understanding of exactly what's going on here and whether to approve or deny. So thank you all very, very much for your time and your testimony. Again, if you have any questions about any of this or the process or anything comes up in the meantime, feel free to reach out to me. You can also ask Walt questions as well. I need to formalize my decision in an actual written opinion that usually does take a couple weeks. And so as soon as I finish that decision, I put it into a PDF and I email it to everybody who's in the hearing here today. So you all have it really just moments after it's complete. As soon as you have that, Ms. Arnold, you can work with Walt again on moving forward with the permits. If you'd like an update on the status of that decision, feel free to email me directly and I'll let you know where I'm at. Any other questions right now?
No, thank you very much.
No, I do have just a comment. So, Ms. Gonzalez, if you have questions while we're out here working, you can always ask my foreman. or?
Oh, I appreciate it. Actually, we live in Florida most of the year now, and I just happened to come back and find this. So where is this? I had no idea that this was happening. So
I got you.
I'm
So
glad I
you're-
did.
But
Thank
you're
you.
welcome. I mean, we'll answer any of your questions, or I'll come out and do a site visit or whatever you need, you know, to make you feel more comfortable.
It sounds like it's a great idea, and I know that you are. I mean, you're fantastic. Matt Naylor said you're fantastic, so I'm sure you'll do a great job.
Lauren, also on that note, so the way that our system notifies neighbors is that it pulls whatever the mailing address is on the auditor's site for the property. So yours was obviously the location or the 1047. If you update on the auditors with the auditor, which the mailing address is for the property, anytime any other things happen in the vicinity, the notice can go to Florida instead of the Cincinnati location, if you think that'd be more convenient.
Thank you. Well, we'll be here for the summer, so I'll make sure to change it in a few months.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks again, everyone. Appreciate it. I think we'll leave it at that. I hope you all have a wonderful day.